Hello and welcome to this Football Manager 2018 experiment, and we see what happens to Ronaldo at Juventus and what happens obviously to Real Madrid. So as you can see here, the transfer has gone through, and I've got a few updates on. It's not fully updated, but as you can see, Real Madrid have signed. Real Madrid have sold him to Juventus, and that transfer has gone through £100 million. And yeah, so they're ready to. Lopetegui is there. He has already signed Victus Jr. He's there. So there's been a few, little things that have happened. Not all of the transfers are up to date. Not all of the transfers are up to date by any stretch of the imagination, but most of them are up until like the 1st of July, and I've added a few in, like Man City have signed Riyad Mahrez, but so this is just to see what happens to Real Madrid, which will be very interesting. What happens to Juventus? Can they get over the line in Europe? Can they win anything in Europe and become a powerhouse with Ronaldo? How long does he stay for? Will he win any European competitions? And everything like that. So let's get into the first season and see how he did. Okie dokie. So the first season has just finished. Let's check Serie A. And as you can see, Juventus have absolutely blown away everyone. Look at that, 99 points, just one defeat against Inter Milan at home. And they have smashed the league, finishing 7 points of Napoli, who had a great total of 92 points. Ronaldo finishing top scorer, Ronaldo finishing with 10 man of the match awards, Ronaldo finishing top of the average ranking, Ronaldo playing every single game. Incredible by Ronaldo. So he scored 26 goals, 6 assists, 10 man of the matches, and he also made 4 assists in Europe, 4 man of the matches in Europe. So they failed. Look at that. They failed to get out of their group. Lokomotiv Moscow, Liverpool, and Valencia. So they went into the Europa League, which is awful. But they did get into the final of the Italian Cup. And as you can see, they won the Europa League 2-0, Higuain getting both goals. So they picked up their first European trophy in a long, long time. And also went on to win the Italian Cup. Let's check Madrid. How did they go on? What did they do? As you can see, they finished second in the league. 1 point away from Atletico Madrid, who win it since the first time since 2014. So that is great news for them. What transfer dealings did they do? So we'll do it in money order. They bought in Marlos from Shakhtar Donetsk. He plays right wing. 13 games, 2 goals for Real Madrid. They brought in Danilo Pereira, who plays in the defensive midfield role. He played 12 times, joining from Porto. And the big one, Paulo Dybala, has gone the other way. And he had a great season, 20 games, 13 goals, 5 assists, 9 man of the match awards. So that was a fantastic season by Paulo Dybala. How did they get on in other competitions? So as you can see, they won the Super Cup. They also won the Club World Championship, beating that Brazilian side. They lost in the 5th round of the Spanish Cup and got knocked out in the first leg to the first knockout round to Borussia Dortmund. So that is very disappointing season. Very disappointing season by Real Madrid, but they have kept on Lopetegui as things stand. So how has he been doing? Is he still at Portugal? I wouldn't imagine there he is. So yeah, he's still at Portugal, and they are going into There, 143 caps, 79 goals. He's incredible. So that's their group. They have Trinidad and Tobago, Spain, and Algeria. And it'll be interesting to see how they do in the World Cup 2018. So that's the first season done. I reckon it'll be there for around 5 or so seasons, but we'll holiday through and see what happens in the second season. Second season's done, and as you can see, Real Madrid are looking for a new manager. They finished third. Ooh, 3 clubs finished on 90 points. 91 points Real Madrid, 93 points Atletico Madrid, but Barcelona on 96 win it. Incredible. That must have been a hell of a title race. But as you can see, Lopetegui has been sacked. So he was sacked at the end of the year. Really poor season. So how did they do? They lost in the 5th round again. But they got to the semi-finals, losing to Manchester United, beating Atletico Madrid, and then Dortmund again in the first round. So, yeah, trophyless season, which never goes down too well with Florentino Perez. So Arthur, who has joined Barcelona real life, has signed from Gramero for £20 million. Aspas has joined as well from Celta Vigo. That's not really a Galactico signing. Who did they have go out? So Nacho went out, and a few others. Mainly Nacho though. He's the big signing. So what happened over in Italy? Wow, Juventus win it again. 11 points clear. Cristiano Ronaldo, 7.69 average rating, incredible. And also wins most goals. So is there some sort of no, would he be down as midfielder? No, that's weird. Is there a player of the year? Serie A player of the year. So Ronaldo has won that twice, as you can see, and he's been cutting it up, really doing well. And let's see how they did. So they lost in the European Super Cup to Bayern, who won the Champions League. But they did win the Italian Super Cup 3-0 with 2 goals from Higuain and 1 goal from Cristiano Ronaldo. They got out of the group, but lost to Bayern Munich at 2-0 in each game. They also lost to Torino in the Italian Cups. They only picked up the Super Cup and the Serie A title. Did they make any signings? They did. Nobody really of note. Did anyone go out of note? Not particularly. So now we're going to check on, of course, how Portugal got on. So how did they? Jesus. So they hammered Trinidad and Tobago 4-0. But lost. That was a heartbreak there. Probably would have qualified, but it's a terrible, terrible season for Portugal. Terrible run in the World Cup, and they were out after the group stages, which is very poor. I love this, by the way. I love the fact he's in charge of Ukraine. It's not really nice about that. So third season, on we go. Wow. Okay. As you can see here, Real Madrid have stolen Allegri. But that wasn't enough for them to regain that title. Barcelona, 98 points. Incredible run. Absolutely fantastic. Look at Zaza, 31 goals. Jesus. But Real Madrid have a poor season, and he is on the verge of the sack. So they have signed Sadio Mane for a huge £68 million. And he had a okay season in his first year. They also signed Rodrigo from Santos, and he has gone back out on loan. So some big money moves going out as well. Pereira's gone out, who they signed in the first year. Vasquez, Marcelo, and Kovacic have all gone out. So let's see how else they got on. So they lost. Yes, they went out of in the quarterfinals of the Spanish Cup. They went out in the first leg to first knockout round to PSG. So yeah, really disappointing. How did Juventus get on? So they finished first in Serie A, again 92 points. Ronaldo 22 goals, 7.87 average rating, 10 man of the match award. So he's still cutting up. I think he's starting to lose a little bit. So I put his contract to run out in 2021. Now they do have, I think, an option to extend it by 2 years. So potentially last season could be his last season. So he has more assists than previously. More man of the match awards than he did last season, same as he did in the first season, but less goals. So goals are starting to, go down just a tiny bit. Not a massive amount, not that you'd notice. So how did Juventus do? They won the Super Cup 2-1. And they went out of the Champions League again. Really disappointing, but they did win the Europa League again, beating Tottenham in the final to win it for the second time in 3 years, which is very, very good, but it's not the one they wanted. They also won the Italian Cup 3-2, which is very, very good. Emre Can getting one of the goals, who has signed for free from Liverpool. So yeah, it's not really happening for him, is it? It's not really happening in the Champions League, which is where they want to be. For Portugal, he's still scoring plenty of goals, as you can see. His name's popping up here and there. So very, very good. He's now captain of the Juventus side, and so this is his last season on his contract. Whether he will have more, I don't know, but let's get into that 4th season and also see how they got on in the Euros. Right, 4th season done, and of course Juventus win it again. Look at that. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe like 11 in a row. It's incredible. So for the first time, he's not finished on as top goal scorer. He's all the way down in 4th place with 14 goals. Yarmolenko and Higuain are on the same. Of course, Yarmolenko, who has gone to West Ham in real life. But he finished top average rating, which is fantastic, and they still won the league. But how else did they go on? So they lost in the European Super Cup again, but won the Italian Super Cup. They got to the Champions League and went out in the semi-final of the Italian Cup, went out in the quarterfinals to Man City of the Champions League. So once again, not winning anything of note. Did they make any transfers of note? Not overly. They signed this very, very good region. Very, very good region. Who plays for Austria. Did anyone of note go out? Not overly. What happened at Real Madrid? Allegri is still at the club because Real Madrid have finally won the league. So for the first time in nearly 4 years, Real Madrid have won the league. And as you can see, they've made a huge signing if we go in. So 2021, as you can see, they've signed Mauro Icardi from Manchester City for £170 million. They've signed Rafael Guerreiro from PSG for £38 million. They've signed Bentaleb for £34 million. So they've really spent and have finally got there. They've had Ceballos Jr. go out, and they've also had Arthur go out. So they won the Spanish Cup against Atletico Madrid as well, but they did go out to Atletico Madrid in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. So now I need to check Juventus. and his contract. So he has had a contract extension for another year, and he's starting to drop off now, as you can see. Still, one of the best players in the world, no doubt. Let's have a look at his average rating. 173. That's still good. It's good for somebody who's 36. So let's see what happens in the next. Oh wait, I didn't check how they got on in the Euros. So they're in the final of the international Euro League, but they went out in the second round to Croatia. So that was a very, very, very poor. Again, Germany went on to win it in 2020. So let's go into the next year and see if he is still at the club and how he gets on. 5th season. Let's see what's gone on. Juventus win it again. Huge margin this time. 13 points, as you can imagine. Once again, look at that. You have to scroll down all the way to 2011. So they won it for a 12th season. They won the Super Cup yet again. But went out in the quarterfinals of that and went out in the quarterfinals of the Champions League to Barcelona. So yeah, it's not really happening. It's just, have they made any transfers? Yes, they have. But nobody that's really going to move the needle. Which, you need people that are going to really move the needle. Which hasn't happened here, which is fine. But I suppose I said in my in my video that they signed him to win the Champions League, and that hasn't happened on this. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen in real life. So they put 1 point was between it, and it went down to. I assume we went down to the final day, and Real Madrid got that draw. Yeah, so if they wouldn't have got that draw, Madrid would have won it. Incredible. Going down to the final day, but Real Madrid once again won the league. They also won the Spanish Super Cup, beating Atletico Madrid. They went out in the semi-final to Atletico Madrid, and they went out in the first knockout round of the Champions League to AC Milan, which is a new name. Did they do any other transfer dealings? Let's have a look. Rabiot come through. 124 million pounds. That's eye-watering. And a ridiculous amount. Asensio went out to Bayern Munich. So how did Ronaldo get on? Just 9 goals, 23 games played, 5 assists and 1 man of the match award. So he's really starting to wind down, but he has signed another contract, £400,000 a week. So still a huge amount of money. They go into the World Cup again, 2022. They have China, England, Egypt. Lost in the final of that international Euro Nations League thing. But he's still a part of the squad, as you can see. Does he have any plans to retire? No plans to retire. So he's going to go to a 5th World Cup, which is absolutely incredible. Hopefully he can finally get that win. But let's go into the next season and see how he gets on. Right, so welcome back to the save. And despite Dybala having a hell of a season, 16 man of the match awards, 8 rating and 25 goals, Barcelona have won the league. So they went through in the Super Cup and went out in the semi-finals of that Spanish Cup, but lost to Juventus, who obviously we're keeping an eye on. Went all the way to penalties. Moise Kean scoring twice. How did they get on? They won the league again, 7 points, but no sign of our friend Cristiano Ronaldo. They lost in the Super Cup, lost in the quarterfinals, but went to the Champions League final, but lost to Chelsea. That's obviously the furthest any of Juventus or Real Madrid have gotten since the experiment started. So that's really, really close indeed. But how did Ronaldo do? He actually played more games than he did last season, scoring more goals, 4 assists and 5 Man of the Match awards. So maybe he's not dead yet. Once again, they're in the final of the International Cup. Terrible World Cup run, losing to England, losing to Egypt, and beating China 4-0. And I think he may have given that up. It looks like he has retired from international football. And yeah, he retired after the World Cup in 2022. So now he's just playing 185 caps, 107 goals, absolutely incredible. And he is looking at becoming an assistant manager, which he isn't very good at. So he signed another contract for another year. Potentially his final year. He will be 39 when that contract goes out. So let's have a look at that season. 7th season. Real Madrid win it for the 3rd time in 4 years, racking up 100 points. Dybala once again, scoring an incredible amount of goals. Look how well he has done since he joined the club. Absolutely incredible. Real Madrid win that. So how else did they get on? So they got into the Spanish Cup final. And won the Spanish Cup for the first time in a few years, and went out to Manchester City in the quarterfinals. Did they play each other? Yep. So Juventus, first in Serie A, again winning by 8 points. 13 titles in a row. And there's been a big signing. Gabriel Jesus. Joining for £71 million in instalments from Manchester City. Also signed Bertrand Traore as well. Patrick Cantone has joined. Pereira. So they made some really big sign. Well, not big. So he's made a few signings. So lost in the Super Cup. Lost in the Italian Cup final. Lost in the quarterfinals to Liverpool of the Champions League. How did Ronaldo do? As you can see, his contract's about to run out. Does that mean he is retiring? 24 games played, just 5 goals, 6 assists, 2 Man of the Match awards. Expires in just 26 days. Plans to retire at the end of the year. So he plans to retire in just 22 days. So that is the end of the experiment. What we're going to do is we're going to have a look and see what happens next. So what happens to Juventus, what happens to Real Madrid, and of course, what happens to Ronaldo. Right, so let's see what happened to Ronaldo after retirement. So he has joined Chelsea under-18s as assistant manager. After being such a talented player, that's really crap. Antonio Conte is back at Juventus. I'm not sure if that's a new thing. They've spent heavily again. Renato Sanchez, Marcelo Costa, who is a regen. They've also brought Kasper Dolberg in. Pereira went back out, but they won the league again. Won the Super Cup. Lost in the quarterfinals of both competitions, which isn't very good. And it's really disappointing. They don't always make it, but that's pretty crap to be an under-18 assistant at Chelsea. Leonardo Jardim is now in charge, and once again, Real Madrid win it for the 4th time in 5 years. They are really racking up it out now, and once again, Dybala. Scoring goals and goals and goals. He's probably been one of the picks of the tournament, picks of the experiment. What are transfers have gone on? nobody really of note, but they have, done really well. So they won the Super Cup, got into the final of the Spanish Cup and won that, but lost in the quarterfinals of the Champions League, which was won by Manchester United. And as you can see, it's been totally dominated by English clubs. 4, 5, 6 of the last 7 have been won by English clubs. Only Atletico Madrid and Barcelona have won it since. That's weird. There was 2 winners. Must be something to do with the database. How very weird. But yeah, so that's the end of the experiment. That is what Football Manager predicts will happen with the with the signing of Cristiano Ronaldo. What do you think will happen? Tell me your thoughts down below. If you enjoyed this experiment, tell me down below and I will create more. Of course, I really hoped you enjoyed the video. I really enjoyed making it, so hopefully you enjoyed it as much as I did. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Mike and I will see you soon.